I'm Paul Garden. I'm going to be conducting this session today. I'm in the security product marketing team here at JFrog, and I've been with JFrog for about 4.5 years. If you have any questions, I think the easiest way is to put the questions through the chat, and I think Judy is going to monitor the chat while I'm presenting. I can see the number going up as we go along, so hope there's nothing serious, but yeah, feel free to ask questions as we go along. I'm happy to answer questions in context with what's being presented. Okay, so what can you expect in today's session? So we're going to talk about JFrog Curation. So I'm going to, what does curation even mean? And then at JFrog, we always like to start with the why, and the why is what's the problem we're solving. So I'll talk about that, the scale of the problem that we fix. I'll talk about how powering your foundation as a user of the platform and using curation is essential. I'll talk about the capabilities of curation, the target personas, and who can you sell it to. We'll talk about how much is it. We'll also touch a little bit on the competition. And then Judy will talk about some of the assets towards the end. Okay. So what does curation even mean? I know some people on the call, English may not be their first language. So this is from the Oxford English Dictionary. And it says, curation, the action or process of selecting, organizing, and looking after the items in a collection or exhibition. Now, what on earth does that have to do with DevOps or software development or DevSecOps or security? Why does that even mean? So to kind of put it into context, we can think about it in kind of this way. The items that we're selecting or organizing are artifacts or binaries or open source packages. The collection or the exhibition, you can think of it as the repository and artifactory that software development teams need to be able to store their binaries somewhere, to be able to manage their builds. And that's what the repository is that artifactory does. So the items are the artifacts or binaries, the collection or exhibition is the repository. And how do we curate things? So to select things, we have policies. And for those of you on the call that are familiar with JFrog X-Ray, we have policies that are similar to the policies in X-Ray for curation. And the machine that organizes all of putting the items in the right repository is artifactory. So that's how curation relates to what this product does. So it allows you to select and organize binaries or open source packages and store them in a repository. So you curate the open source packages coming into your company. So what's the problem? This is the crux of what we're doing and why we created JFrog Curation. And this is a great quote from a CTO and a CISO of a Fortune 100 company. And he says, I don't have any visibility or control over whatever's going on with the third-party open source libraries coming inside my company. I'm faced with two bad options. Let development continue doing what they want, or place restrictions and slow the company velocity. Now, the reason this happens is developers are focused on one thing, and that's getting their coding done. They just want to come to work, write their code, get their things checked in, committed to the main branch, and move on. But more and more, developers are relying on open source packages to write their code. So they're also potentially bringing in security risks into their organization. So if you don't monitor what people are bringing into the organization to use inside your software, and you don't have adequate security checks throughout your software supply chain, there's a bunch of security exposures and security risks that you're bringing into your organization. So this is a real problem that customers are having. So this one quote kind of sums up exactly what curation was made for. So what is actually happening? So you have the developer here, over here on the left. They're busy thinking about, I've got to get my code done. I've got a deadline. I've got to get this done by Friday. I want to enjoy my weekend. And they're connecting their IDE or their command line tool, and they're pulling in open source packages from public open source repositories like NPM, Maven, NuGet, Go, Docker, or Python. So they're pulling in packages into their development environment, which is then being stored, and then they're writing their code, and they're utilizing these open source binaries and using them to create their builds that they're then checking into the main branch, into their CI/CD pipeline, all the way through the release process and then out to be distributed. So what actually happens when they're just free to pull anything into their organization? Now, what can happen is these open source packages can contain things like malicious packages, or they could maybe have high severity CVEs. So unintentionally, a developer might be bringing in something that has a security or an integrity risk into the organization. There's something called operational risk, which is where a package may be 5 or 6 years old and it hasn't been maintained for 3 years and it's kind of out of date, and you could have technical debt that you're bringing into your company. There's also license compliance potential issues. For example, your legal department might decide that we don't want any of these certain types of licenses in the company, or we don't want you to bring in open source packages that don't have an identifiable license type. So these are the kind of risks that developers are bringing into their development environment just to get their everyday work done. And if it goes unchecked, you can be bringing any or multiple of these risks into the organization. So JFrog Curation is designed to fix this problem, and it really, really is a real problem for every organization writing code. So what's the scale of the problem? How big is this problem? I mean, what does it really mean? Now, when you look at all of these different open source package types, and these are 5 of the most popular and most commonly used package types in the industry. So Go, Python, NPM is JavaScript, NuGet, and then Maven at the bottom right is Java. So these are used every day by developers, and they're pulling in packages to help them write their code quickly. It's like not reinventing the wheel. There's somebody who's written this code before. You need to do it to write your module. So you pull this into your organization. Now, the problem is developers can't even keep track of just these individual packages. They don't know whether it's secure, insecure, got an operational risk, or what the license type is. And then the compound effect on that is, if you look at these numbers like NPM, for example, this is just in a month, and I think we did this in January this year, there are 95,000 new NPM packages every month. That's nearly 100,000 just new package types. Then on top of that, there's 750,000 new versions. So that means someone's gone in, they've changed the code, they've added something, modified it, and then they've checked in a new version. So that in itself is nearly 1 million new things to try and take into comprehension. And then you compound it if you're using multiple package types across your company. There's no way a developer can keep track of all of this, new versions, new types, know whether it's secure or insecure. They have no idea. So the problem gets multiplied the more package types you might use, or the more developers you have in your organization. And it's very dangerous just to let these things come into your organization and not be checked. So here's what they have to think about. Is the package safe to use? They don't want to do that, but they need to do that. But this is where curation comes in. So we can automatically, with curation in the background, look at whether a package is safe to use. So we need to look at whether it's a malicious package, what the license type is, so we can help them keep out the license types they don't want. We can also look to help eliminate packages coming in that have critical or high severity CVEs. And then we can also look to help them make sure what they're bringing in is maintained well. It's not very young and very new and untested, or very old and unmaintained and maybe is somewhat out of date. So that's what we're looking to do. Curation helps people make the decision of, are these packages safe to use? So I mentioned powering the foundation for these customers. So that's essentially what JFrog Curation does. It's the foundation, it's the main building block of security. You can kind of think of it like having a security guard on the outside of your building and only letting certain people in, the people that you want in, that maybe agree to your policies that you have set up. So you have all of these packages coming into the funnel of curation. You set up policies to block security risks from even getting into Artifactory. And for those of you who understand how Artifactory works, if you don't have curation, you have Artifactory, which is fetching and caching packages from open source repositories all the time for developers. So what you do with curation is you add another layer, and it almost sits, it feels like it's sitting outside of your organization, and it's monitoring, like a security guard, the packages coming into your software development environment. So you're trying to block the problems that you want to keep out before they even get to Artifactory, which is kind of shifting left security, but it's even more left than just shifting left. So what is the knock-on effect? If you can block all these security risks from coming in, you have a set of trusted packages that you know have to meet your policies for the developers to use. And in turn, this is going to accelerate coding. So the developers have to worry less about fixing things because they know that the packages that they're pulling in, if it comes into the organization, it passes all of these policies. So they kind of got trusted code to develop with already. These binaries, the open source packages are trusted. Now, the knock-on effect of that means down the road, there's less remediation to do. So you're not fixing things because you block the things, or you make sure you pull in the package versions that aren't malicious, or they're not got a high severity CVE in them. So that in turn means a faster delivery for the DevOps team or the release management team. So powering the foundation at the beginning can speed development, less remediation, faster delivery, faster time to market, means generally more profit for an organization. So companies really want to have this control of what's coming into their organization, and that's what curation does. So what's in the box of curation? What are the features, and how do we achieve this? Well, we have a set of policy templates that are ready-made for a developer or a security person to set up in their environment. In fact, normally it's maybe a DevOps or a security person, and they can set up policies around malicious packages. The operational risk is whether things are maintained or old or new. You can keep out critical vulnerabilities, and also the licenses that you don't want coming into your organization. Now, sometimes developers need to get access to a package type or a package version to do their development, and they know they need it, but they know it has a high severity CVE. So what we can do is set up a package waiver, which means you allow, even though it doesn't meet the policy, in the policy you can I set up a waiver for this particular package name and version. So then the developer can get that access to that, knowing that they're not going to send it to production, but they need it to speed development. So that's kind of an example of an exception where you might need a package waiver. So we have that. That's something that needed to be built in. Our customers said they wanted that kind of functionality. Now, the big thing that curation brings, apart from the policies to keep things out, there is an audit trail of everything that comes into the organization. So anything that comes through curation and gets approved and goes into the repositories inside Artifactory, it's logged. Anything that's blocked is also logged. So that CIO at the big, or the CTO or CISO at the beginning, who said, I want visibility and control, they have the visibility piece here. So we got a full audit trail of everything that's coming into the organization. So for those companies that have compliance, or maybe they're in a highly regulated industry like banking or insurance or other industries like that, they have an audit trail of everything. And half the problem with compliance is proving what you did do. So this is a way for that to happen. We have email alerts for when a package is blocked, so you can send that to the security team or the DevOps team or whoever, the software development team, so everyone has visibility. For the developer side of things, we support the JFrog CLI tool. So that means inside their command line environment, they can utilize curation. So when they're pulling things and they're doing an npm install of packages into their directory, it will do a scan and it will make sure that those packages coming in meet the policies. So we've kind of got seamless integration into the developer process and the development process. And all we want to do is make sure the developer can code fast. So it's trying to be as frictionless as possible for the developer. Now, what actually powers curation is called the JFrog catalog. It's an open source database. It's a service that functions behind the scenes of curation. And you remember all of those package styles, like I said, you get new versions and new packages every month. Catalog is connected to all of those open source repositories, and it's pulling in the information about these new packages coming out and the new versions being created. So it's like a database of, it's like almost like a Google of open source packages. So when a developer is pulling a package in, Catalog already understands whether that package is known to be malicious, whether it's got a known CVE, whether it's how well it's maintained, how old it is. So that way we can very efficiently and almost in the background do the checking of these packages as they're being pulled in by developers. So Catalog is a very powerful database that sits behind the JFrog Curation. So Curation was released a month ago, so it's available now, and it's available self-hosted, cloud, multi-cloud, and hybrid. So however your customers are utilizing JFrog today, Curation can sit into their development environment very easily. So what does this bring? So I was kind of saying that you have a security guard outside of before Artifactory. So in this picture, it shows you the open source repositories of the packages coming in. They have to go through the curation filter or security guard before they even get to Artifactory, where the developer is requesting packages to come in and out. So going back to initially that quote, this gives those people in management some feeling of visibility and control over what packages are being downloaded into the organization. Now, this is automated and it sits in the background. So it gives the developers a set of trusted software components that they can use in their software development. So you set up the foundation, you give the developers the tools they need, and they've got a set of trusted packages they can use for development. So this is one of the key things that we wanted to do, was make it frictionless for the developer. The last thing you want to do is make things difficult for the developer. So this sits in the background of the developer's tools. So as they're pulling things into their IDE or using their CLI, in the background, Artifactory is pulling things, but it pulls it through Curation that then can do the security checking as things happen. Now, if you look at this holistically, overall, this is going to give an improved DevSecOps experience. It allows the sec part to be integrated within DevOps without being, a difficult barrier to entry. And as I was talking about, if you have curation at the front end and you're eliminating a lot of these security issues, not only do you get a set of trusted packages, you're doing less remediation throughout your software development lifecycle. Now, less remediation means faster releases, quicker time to market, and you can save money and generate more revenue as a company. So you can get your releases out quicker, you can get your new versions out quicker, and this is the net benefit of JFrog Curation. So how does it fit into the platform, and what's the platform value? And I'll explain a couple things, especially how curation is different from X-ray, because this is often the big question is, well, if I have curation, why do I need X-ray? Or if I have X-ray, why do I need curation? So this is how the platform looks. So you have the curation security guard over here on the left. If you imagine that vertical dotted line is kind of the edge of your internal software supply chain where your developers are developing, curation sits outside on the left, and it's making sure things coming into your organization at that point in time meet your policies. Now, what can happen, and Log4j would be a good example, is you could do the curation on a Wednesday, and packages come in. And then, for instance, if you remember Log4j as an example, we didn't know until a specific date, which I think was a Thursday or a Friday, that Log4j as a component was known to have a high severity CVE with remote code execution. Awful, absolutely can't have that in your development. But the day before or 2 days before, people were using it with no idea. No one knew that it was vulnerable. So this can happen, which is why you still need to have JFrog X-ray, which is your software composition analysis that happens in your artifact repositories, in your builds, throughout your CI/CD pipeline, and then before you release to production. So things can get through curation because at that point in time, they weren't known to be malicious, or they weren't known to have a high severity CVE. So curation doesn't check further along, which is why you need X-ray to do that checking further along. So they kind of work hand in hand, and you can have similar policies in X-ray that you do in curation. So you know you're keeping out the right things, and then you know that you're checking for the right things as your software runs through the software development pipeline. So how does that translate to me as a partner? So we, with JFrog Curation, we're adding another value proposition for the resellers in the room. Not only do we have a platform that can help you develop code, and we can secure your code development process from coding all the way through to runtime. So curation adds another flavor of value that you can offer your customers that are using JFrog. It's an add-on. Now, as a partner, what I think is, and when I say partner, I mean an ISV or a technology partner, you've now got the ability to ingest another set of data, which talks about, and I talked about the audit trail. So from a visibility perspective, if you have a visibility platform and you're integrated with JFrog, this would be another data set that you could ingest, which gives an organization almost a shifting further left and left viewpoint of what's coming into an organization. And I don't know about you, but I think that the CTO and the CISO that was quoted at the beginning would love to have a visibility platform connected to the JFrog platform to show everything, stuff that's coming in, how it's moving through the pipeline. I mean, for me, this is like an ultimate visibility for management. So this could bring a lot of value to an integration with the JFrog platform. The other thing that I think could be a good platform integration would be vulnerability management and remediation management. So when something does come into curation and it gets rejected, it could go into generate a ticket, and then you could have a remediation workflow for a company. So they not only have visibility of what's coming in, when something does come in and they need to do some remediation and get a new version or a different type, that could be expedited within a partner integration. And I think that's how you have to kind of look at curation is it's an added value in the platform for a customer, but it's also an opportunity to have another data set inside an integration with the JFrog platform. Okay, now back to the kind of who is it for and who can you sell it to? So the developer is ultimately the user. I mean, the goal is they're using it, but they don't actually even know they're using it because it's kind of transparently in the background doing the hard work so they don't have to. So the developer is the person that's going to be using this. And the people that set it up would maybe be a security guy and DevOps. So the DevOps and the security guy almost have an equal vetting in this process. So they would probably both be involved, like the DevOps team would be involved in setting up this tool chain, and the DevSecOps or AppSec or SecOps, the security people in the company would care about it because it's taking care of a security function. So I think these would both be involved. They're both kind of buying centers in different companies. It depends on the size of the company. But both of these people as personas would be involved in looking at what the curation does and involved in the decision making. Sometimes budgets in companies are held, especially for security tools, in the DevSecOps or the AppSec team. But quite often, tooling can often sit in the software engineering or the DevOps team. So it could be one or both. Someone who's a big buyer, and this is the person that was mentioned at the beginning, is the C-level person who wants visibility and doesn't want any piece of software just coming into the organization. So he is or she is buying influence in this. And I think they would see huge value in having curation as a solution, and maybe with a visibility integration, giving them a dashboard of everything that's happening. So that to me is a huge value and very much a big incentive for companies to think about utilizing curation. Now, the primary target, as you'll see, is curation is available to those customers who have Enterprise X or Enterprise Plus. So enterprise level customers are a primary target because they've already got the right subscription. It's just an add-on. So it's very easy. Here's the value, and you just have to add it onto your existing subscription. A secondary target would be maybe Pro and Pro X kinds of customers. Maybe they're using a competitor's product. I mentioned here Firewall there, that's by Sonatype. The thing is that if they're using Pro or Pro X, we would have to have, or they would have to think about doing an upgrade to Enterprise X. But maybe this is another reason why they might want to upgrade to Enterprise X, because there's huge value in being able to monitor and manage what open source packages are coming into the organization. So how is it sold? I just mentioned it's available to those customers that have an Enterprise X or Enterprise Plus subscription, cloud, multi-cloud, hybrid support. Now the pricing is 10% more expensive in cloud because we have to front up the cost of an instance, and there's some overhead that we do with self-hosted. Customers download it and install it themselves. So with Enterprise X, for the prices seen, you get 50 users included. Now, maybe some of you might be thinking, well, I have a customer, but they have 100 users, but they have Enterprise X, or they're only going to upgrade to Enterprise X. You can actually add users to that package. And there's a table that the quoting team have, and there is a scale, a sliding scale. So as you add more users, the price per user comes down. So it's not like a big chunk more expensive. It's just like additive, and the more users that people add on, the more the discount is. Enterprise Plus, it goes the same way, except they have 200 users included with the add-on subscription. So if you want quotes, or you want to enter an opportunity in Salesforce, all of our back-end stuff and quoting is all available and ready today. So for those of you, that are thinking this would be interesting, you can engage with us, with the sales team, and we can get quotes and whatever you need done, no problem. So what does the sales process look like? So hopefully most of you who are involved in the sales process, in the resellers in the house, it's very similar to a traditional security sales discussion. You might have an initial discussion with the DevOps team, maybe developers, maybe even security. What usually happens is a conversation with the DevOps team. They then invite the security team to have a conversation. There's some discovery questions and qualifications that then go on. We actually have discovery questions and qualification questions to help you out. There's a technical demo that can also, some of these things can happen in a slightly different order. There's definitely going to be a technical demo, which is great. The demo itself is very compelling. Maybe a POC to look at how this fits together in their environment. And we can set up a trial environment or kind of a demo environment so they can see how this looks and feels in their world. Then obviously quoting and then heading towards closing the deal. Now, we ran a beta program with a number of customers, and this was the most popular beta program we've ever done. We had way more customers than we had bandwidth for. So we had bandwidth for just 6 customers, and I think we had maybe 15 to 20 who were interested in doing this. Huge interest. This is a big, big problem for companies today, and they can absolutely see the value of this product immediately. It seems to be very easy to explain. There's been very positive feedback. Customers are very much able to determine the value of the product immediately. And some of the feedback we've taken and made some modifications to the product before launch. And then this is something I haven't mentioned yet, but greenfield opportunity means it's kind of a new space. It's not like SAST or SCA, which has been established for 15 plus years, and it's a known thing, and there's tons of competitors. This is kind of like a greenfield opportunity. There's lots of companies that don't have a curation type solution today. That's why I think a lot of customers are very interested in this kind of functionality, because they've been looking for something to solve these problems. So we've actually had one of our beta customers is already in the final stages of a deal, and 2 more will be closing deals in Q3, Q4, around budgeting restrictions. So nearly 50% of the beta customers are already going to be looking to take curation on and add it to their portfolio this year. So what about the competition? So I kind of touched a little bit on firewall. So there's a couple of different styles of products that we compete with. There's a repository firewall or filter, which is more like our product. Sonatype and GitLab supposedly have something, but it's not out yet. Endor Labs do something similar. I think we do a better job. We don't actually download anything into the organization. I think Sonatype actually do. So I think that's kind of somewhat of a security risk. There's also something that's called a curated catalog on the right-hand side, but that's almost a little bit like what X-Ray does. Once you have a repository, it does the scanning and it makes sure the packages you have are all meeting the policy. So I think we do a slightly better job of stopping things before they get into an environment. Some of these catalogs we will actually be interfacing with to bring in information on the package types as well. So some of these, if you were to use curation, you'll benefit from their knowledge and know-how because we put that into the platform. And there are some other Sneak and some others have some other tools as well. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail, but if you do have a customer opportunity and they have the competition in there, we do have Clue, which is our internal competitive analysis tool. and we can help with providing you like battle cards to help combat situations where a customer might be looking at someone else.
Oh, Paul, it's a question from one of the partners. How do you check if a software is malicious?
Okay, so we have a team of, and I probably should mention this because I keep forgetting that some people might not know. We have a team of software security researchers in Israel. They were part of an acquisition of a company, first-class security team, amazing. They do nothing but research malicious packages, CVEs, how they work, novel attack methods. So we have automated tools that go out and they go to those open source repositories, and they're looking for malicious code inside these packages. So they're going in and they're looking for obfuscated code. They're looking for telltale signs that the code is malicious. And then if that is seen, we flag that up as a malicious package. And we have a database of malicious packages. And I can't remember, but it's something like over 160,000 packages that are listed in our database. So when a developer starts to pull a certain package type, we compare that with this database, and it says, this is known to be malicious or not. I mean, it might be malicious without us knowing, but if it's known to us, we then notify them that was a known malicious package. Oh, someone else says, would love to get the competitive analysis solution here in the link. Yeah, so there was a competitive analysis document, which I think we've retired in favor of the information that we have in Clue. But if you want to, liaise with Judy, we can make sure that you can get the information that you need. And that's perfect timing, because I think I'm actually going to be handing over to Judy right now.
Thanks, Paul. Yes, so as Paul mentioned a few minutes ago, that since the launch of Curation, we got very positive feedback from our beta customers, and there are actually more beta customers who are willing to try it. So we know that we're onto a good thing. So we wanted to share this success with our partners here. For the channel partners here on the call, you're familiar with our partner portal where you would register your deals. And we also have prepared a few pieces of assets for you, make it easy for you to sell. First of all, we have the solution sheets for you to send it to your customers or do a prospects. And we also have a guide to help you with discovery questions and objection handling. And next is the presentation deck. So if you are going into a call that customers wanted to see a presentation, that's something that you can take it with. And especially for David, you ask about the competitive information. So we use a clue here in JFrog to help the sales team to understand competitive landscape. So I basically took those information and put them into the sales battle card. Curation against Nessus firewall. So when you are asked by customers about the features between the two products, it's easy for you to answer the questions and provide objection handling and how to avoid certain questions. Last but not least, for the marketers here on the call, we have two pieces of collateral for you. Well, first of all, the customer email template is for salespeople too. So we have prepared a template with copy and graphics, so we can easily take and send it to your customers. So after this call, if you know of a customer who would be benefiting from Curation, go ahead, download it, send it to your customers. And once you actually get an answer, we will be supporting you on the sales call. We will be doing co-selling with you. And for those who wants to use social media, again, we have content and copy for you. You can just post it on your social media and guide into your lead form, and you can actually generate some leads from the content here. For the technology partners on the call, go ahead and reach out to your alliances manager for any information that you need. If you're interested to work with JFrog on solutions or to co-sell with us, we definitely wanted to work with you on this. And last but not least, we have a lot of good ungated content on jfrog.com. So we updated the curation webpage. And also on the pricing page, you will see the curation component on the pricing page, and walk through video to show how you use curation, and walk through from the beginning to end. And last but not least, we have a customer webinar 2 weeks ago, and it's a very good webinar with customers interacting with us, asking questions, expressing their challenges. So it's actually a very good insight for you to go listen to see, what some of the challenges that your customer might be facing. So with that, we will be sending this slide deck and the recordings to you in email, so you have access to both the presentation and the recording. And last but not least, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to partners@jfrog.com. We will be making sure that we answer your questions.
Great, thank you. So just to summarize, this product is something that customers have already been asking us for. So I think there's definitely a value proposition for this product for the customers. It's definitely a problem that they have. It's a different value to X-ray or advanced security. And it's something that customers need as well as X-ray and advanced security. So, we saw that the advanced security has got very popular. We have a lot of customers using it already. And we're getting the feeling that this is going to be even more, have an even faster adoption. We've launched with a certain set of functionality. We've got a roadmap of new things that are going to be coming in. So there'll be new package types that we support. There'll be other little new features, customizations that can happen. So the product's going to get better and better. For those channel partners, engage with your customers now. For those of you that need it, sales team and solution engineers are equipped for demos and meetings to help you co-sell. And for our technology partners, reach out if you're thinking this might be an interesting integration for your platform for observability or otherwise, and maybe a scene tool. Reach out to Judy or the Tech Alliance email, we'll look forward to engaging and partnering with you more.
Next slide.
I think the next slide is, that's right.
Yes. So for those here, I just wanted to put in a plug that we have our JFrog Partner Day on September 12th. That's co-located with the JFrog User Conference Swamp in San Jose. So just wanted to extend the invitation for you. The Partner Day, it's meant for the JFrog partners. We wanted you to be part of the JFrog Partner Program launch. We'll have executives giving keynotes about JFrog investment into the partner ecosystems. We'll have dedicated technical trainings for your technical audience in the team. And you'll also have the opportunity to connect with customers and Swamp Up. So it's definitely an event that you don't want to miss.
Okay, and I think that's it, unless there are any more questions. I don't see any in the chat, so
I guess that's it. So again, partners, if you have questions, feel free to reach out to us. We are here to support you. Thank you, everybody.
okay, thanks everyone.
Bye-bye.